So we're going to go ahead and get started. This presentation is on the 7 ways Holganix grows healthier turf. And so Dr. Bob and myself would just like to ask a little question. We're going to be, for the most part, we're going to have everyone on mute because there's so many of you, it would mess up the connection. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat pane or the question pane. So at this point, just practice, and so we understand where you guys are all from. You know, what industry are you guys from? Are you distributors? Are you in the lawn care industry? Are you golf course guys? Or are you in sports turf? Go ahead and put it in the chat pane. What industry are you guys from? Are you guys all asleep? Oh, we got someone. There we go. Grounds maintenance, and that's actually from Brandon Haley. I don't know if you guys have been on the last webinar, but he did an excellent webinar on Holganix Bloom. Golf course superintendent, welcome Jeremiah. Another superintendent, Charlie, welcome. We got a guy in sports turf.
And a whole bunch of you who don't want to tell us what you do. Are you with the government?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Should we be concerned? All right, guys. Well, it looks like the bulk of you are in sports turf or golf. Welcome. Let's go ahead and get started here. So just to begin, I'm going to launch a poll. And it's going to ask you, how many of you currently use Holganix? So not yet, testing, yes, or I'm a Holganix distributor or partner. Just so we understand before we get started if we need an introduction to Holganix.
Although in many ways the presentation will be an introduction to Holganix.
It will be. We got 80% voted, so at least they're being active here. 90%. Can we get 100? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right. I'm giving up on the last 10% of you guys. Let's close the poll and share the results. So Dr. Bob, it looks like 22% of the guys out there are not yet using Holganix. So welcome.
It's a great opportunity because we've got some a lot of users here, and also some people testing.
Yeah.
And I said we just have one Holganix rep, and that's good because they're all out selling our product.
11%.
We have 11%.
Well, they're distributor reps too.
Okay.
Kind of lumped them together.
Well, my point was if they're not here on this talk, they're out selling the product. So.
All right. So meet your hosts.
That's me on the left, and I don't know if you can see Katie. She's on the right. It's blocked out in my picture.
Yeah, there I am.
There she is, and that's me pre-diet. I'm about 30 pounds less than that today.
And looking good. And that was an experiment with pea roots, right?
Yeah, actually those are pea roots, and it was really an exciting finding because I had put these planted these peas in soil in a greenhouse, and treated the seeds, treated the pot right after the seeds were planted. That represents about 3 to 4 weeks after planting, and I was really disappointed because there weren't a lot of differences in the above ground portion of the plants. But so when I ended the test, what I did was I washed the roots, and the results were there was an incredible effect on the roots of the plant. And interestingly enough, now 3 years later, I've been doing some literature research, and I find that this is not an uncommon result. There are certain bacteria associated with roots that have that cause that increased growth of root mass.
So I guess we'll get to that once we get to the section on roots. That's a good intro to it, though. So for those of you who don't know about Holganix yet, Dr. Bob, can you tell them a little bit about what is Holganix?
Well, it's a combination, and it's actually a rather unique approach toward what's becoming a very modern science. In other words, people are recognizing that biology, fungi and bacteria mostly, in the soil are having a great effect on plants and can push plants to be more productive. And there's a lot of biotech companies who are singularly trying to find what is that one bacteria or fungi or one small group of bacteria or fungi which we could develop, which they could develop into a product. Our approach has been different. Our approach is that we start with a compost tea. It's a patented plant-based compost tea, and it's 100% organic. Uh, but having been a compost tea, it has a lot of biology in it. And that biology is bacteria, uh, fungi, much of which we actually add to the product, protozoa, nematodes, so things like that that come through from the compost. Uh, and the neat thing is, there's a huge number of, and that's a popular word in this election year. There's a huge number of biologicals in the product. We have over 800 species of bacteria, and the benefit of that is we can, when you put Holganix on the soil, the product, the biology reacts to the conditions of the soil. What are the conditions today? Does it need phosphorus? Well, we have phosphorus solubilizers in there. Does it need nitrogen? We have nitrogen fixing bacteria, and the bacteria actually self-select for who the actors are going to be. And so in our product, we have biology that can match almost any circumstance. So I said it's made up of living microorganisms. Also, we put in the product food sources for those microorganisms. Those food sources are fructose, molasses, brewer's yeast, and yucca extract. And and then we put other materials in there like I'm having a slip here. Uh,
Amino acids, right?
Yeah, I'm looking, but I'm trying to answer to that number 3 there, helpful plant extracts because the product also,
Kelp.
there we go, and things that help with the soil structure. So we have some physical aspects in response to the soil in addition to the biological aspects.
Awesome. So Holganix, the product's been around for decades. The company itself has been around for, I guess, 6 years now. We have over 25 university studies. We're used by some of the top PGA golf courses, professional athletic fields, landscape management, top 150 lawn and landscape companies. And we're continually evolving the product. We believe that, in evolution, revolution is one of our core values. So we're always looking for how do we improve the product for the customers that we have today and for the customers we have in the future.
So the product's actually been around for centuries if you want to call the product a compost tea. But the problem with a compost tea, it's a very dilute product, and you really couldn't build a business that involved shipping product from coast to coast and north and south in this country, which is what we're doing. We have customers using this product from Maine to Florida and from Georgia to California.
Yeah.
So what our product is, it's a patented concentrated compost tea, which allows us to produce our product on more or less an industrial scale and allows for the distribution.
Cool. So let's get into some of the meat here. So what's your biggest plant health problem? I'm going to launch that poll next. We got 50% of you. 60% of you are voting. 70%. I think we're, 80%. 90. I don't think we're going to get 100.
No.
I think we should share the
I
results.
really like the way these results have shaped up in terms of our presentation today.
Yeah.
60% of our 70% of you are concerned about the poor soil quality, and nearly 60% of you are concerned about the effect of drought, I assume, on your plants, and 33% are looking at
Roots.
how are our roots.
So we'll go over those, I guess.
Yeah. So Holganix, is very good for roots.
Hold on, we'll go to the next one. I think we'll get to
Okay.
roots in the presentation. So this one is more like so for the first big thing of how Holganix solves problems is really Holganix balances the soil food web, which caters to that soil health quality question.
So as I said earlier, we actually fill in the blanks because we have the tools in our product that if your soil is weak in one area or another, biologically or physically, we have components in the product that match that problem. So, for instance, if one of the things you're worried about is effective drought, we have mycorrhizae in the product, which enable the plant to reach out further than it ever could do just relying on its own roots. The mycorrhizae form an association with the roots, and then their mycelium penetrate literally over hectares of land, or acres of land, and bring material back, minerals and water back to the plant. So it helps in the drought situation. Also, not related to drought, but the mycorrhizae also are have the ability to solubilize rock phosphate and then absorb that through the mycelium and bring the phosphorus back to the plant. So I'm sorry, Katie, you wanted to say something?
No, it's okay. So, how does Holganix balance the soil food web? So you talked about how it closes these gaps. What are some of the other ways that Holganix helps with balancing the soil ecosystem?
So, for instance, I did mention that we have food for biology in there. So if you have a low organic matter to start with, we supplement carbon because bacteria and fungi have to live on carbon.
Right.
And so we build up the carbon levels of the soil. We add mycorrhizae, so we can build up this relationship that we were talking about. Some of the bacteria that are in our product are nitrogen fixing, so we can actually add nitrogen to the soil aside from any fertilizer people might be adding. There's a balance of organisms. So, for instance, we even have protozoa in the product, and protozoa eat bacteria. It's their only food. And some of the bacteria in the soil are not good creatures, and they're not very selective whether they eat bad or good, but the protozoa help keep the bacteria in balance. Bacteria are very attracted to the roots as well. And why is this? So if you dug in the soil and took a bacteria profile of soil that's not associated with plant roots, it'll be much lower, even like a desert, as compared to the bacteria counts and range of species if you take what's called the rhizosphere, the area of soil associated with roots. Why? Because roots exude 20 to 30% of the sugar they produce and other carbon biochemicals are secreted from the roots into the soil, and that's directly a food for the bacteria, for the mycorrhizae, and other small organisms in the soil. So it's the trigger to keep the food web going.
Very cool. So in brief, Holganix balances the soil food web by increasing the diversity of the organisms present.
Yes.
Increasing population counts.
Yes.
And strengthening those broken segments that you were talking about, and of course feeding the microorganisms themselves.
Exactly.
Very cool. So going on to the second, Holganix builds strong roots. So I think 33% of the people said that they, one of the big problems they're facing is roots. So this guy in specific, he was a winner of our root competition. I think he got third place. his name's Tommy Cowett from Grow and Green. I think they're in North Carolina or maybe South Carolina. But he's got 9-inch roots there. So what are the benefits of a strong web-like root system, Dr. Bob? We kind of talked about some of them.
Yeah, pretty much we have talked about it. I want to point out that this guy is pretty unique. He didn't go in with a little soil tool to pull up a profile of soil. He got his shovel out and dug up it. He wanted to make sure he got a ball to show how long his roots were.
I think he wanted to win.
And but what happens is what we didn't talk about are that some of these bacteria are what are called plant growth promoting bacteria, and they actually secrete chemicals like auxin and cytokinins and gibberellins that affect root growth. Also, the mycorrhizae bring back phosphorus and water that helps the roots develop and grow more, and some of the bacteria are themselves phosphate solubilizers that make phosphorus available to the plant, and also nitrogen fixing to make nitrogen available. The result of that is using our product, you normally can reduce the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus that you would be adding.
So some of the ways, so how does Holganix affect root growth? So that kind of goes to the organisms you were talking about, right? So the plant growth promoting bacteria, the endonectomycorrhizae fungi, trichoderma, humic and fulvic acids, and I'm probably going to pronounce this one wrong. Saccharomyces.
It's much easier to say dried brewer's yeast.
All right, that sounds good to me. Am I missing any?
No.
Yeah.
The humic and fulvic acid are, they're parts of organic matter. And they're really kind of critical because they really go to creating a healthy soil. So they create a good soil structure that is that allows for root growth. Without fulvic acid, the clay particles in the soil would collapse upon themselves and actually create an impenetrable barrier to moisture and to roots. The fulvic acid acts as a chelating agent. And as a chelating agents, they keep clay particles apart from each other. And they also, as chelating agents, are kind of like solubilizing agents. They can bring cations, positively charged minerals like calcium and many of the micronutrients to the plant roots. The brewer's yeast is in there as a food for the organisms. And we've talked about the plant growth promoting bacteria. Those are the bacteria that produce the auxins and cytokinins that promote root growth.
So these are I just compiled a bunch of photos from some of the golf course guys, sports turf guys, and lawn care guys that have sent in pictures of their roots. I mean, pictures worth 1,000 words.
That's correct.
And a lot of these guys were either winners from root competitions previously or they were runner-ups. So number 3, Holganix reduces inputs. So with Holganix, you have up to 75% reduction in fertilizer and pesticide inputs. It really depends on your soil, I guess. Huh?
Depends on the soil, the experience of the soil. And so if it's a strong, organic, fertile soil, they have a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus in it that just isn't available to the plants. The biology in the soil attends to that matter, and through nitrification, in other words, getting nitrogen in the right form, and through nitrogen fixation, and then also through phosphorus solubilization, we free up minerals that are already there. So that you can on a Holganix program end up using less fertilizer. We haven't spoken about it, but the same effect is true with in the turf world with the 3-way phenoxy kind of herbicides, and you can reduce the rates of those by a half or 2/3 even, and the crabgrass herbicides, also you can reduce the rate.
So if guys want to look up any kind of reductions that could happen with their program, they can check out the compatibility list. and we'll share that at the end of the presentation. So number 4, Holganix increases water efficiency. So that's really going to speak to our guys that are concerned with drought and weather stress. So Dr. Bob, how does Holganix affect water efficiency?
Through the humic and fulvic acid by increasing the cation exchange capacity and therefore water holding capacity of soil. That's a really big way. Also, what we have talked about, the increased root mass and also the extension of roots with the mycelium of mycorrhizae also makes water that wouldn't be available to the plants because they don't have the capacity to reach that far where the water might be. The biology, when we spray Holganix, we're normally spraying the surface of the plant as well as the soil and therefore the roots. So we have effects on the ability to open stomata. And then we have a wetting agent. It's the yucca extract in our product, which acts as a soil conditioner, again, making the soil, the structure of the soil more compatible to water retention.
And so number 5, Holganix increases stress tolerance, which can, dub back to weather stress, but also, disease, pest, all that stuff. So how does Holganix increase disease, pest, weather, and stress tolerance? What are some of the key components?
Well, first of all, it just like your kid, if he's sick, he doesn't go to school because he's weak and not up to it. But so a strong, healthy kid will do well in school. It's the same with plants. If you create an environment that you get seedlings getting out of the soil well and strong, and then you have plants that are not suffering from water stress and fertility stress. You got strong, healthy plants. They resist infection. Furthermore, the bacteria and fungi in the soil act as physical barriers to pathogens so that they can't get to the roots. Literally, the mantle, the term is mantle, of a mycelium that surround the roots of a plant are in fact a physical barrier to insect pest and disease pest on the roots. And the same thing happens on the leaves. When you spray the leaves of a plant, you get, it's like who's on first, because you get a colony of good bacteria and fungi on the leaves that prevent the bad actors from getting to the plant.
So this is an example. I think this was, if I remember correctly, Monada Golf Course. They're in Pennsylvania. So it's Holganix liquid on the left and a control on the right. And they were looking at using Holganix, but they wanted to test it first. A lot of you guys are testing it right now. So they saw a huge difference when looking at disease and Holganix.
I should be able to tell you what disease that was, but unfortunately I'm not a disease expert, but it might be dollar spot.
So number 6, Holganix increases seed germination. So how does Holganix increase seed germination? You've got a bunch of ingredients in here.
Basically, the ingredients we're talking about all promote moisture and fertility and plant growth regulating chemicals in and around seeds that have 2 effects. One is the germination with Holganix treated soil is faster than the germination without Holganix. And secondly, the seedlings are more vigorous because they've got everything there to make them grow well. And so germinates early, grows faster. And you can demonstrate this to yourself. A good
there you go.
in a pot on your desk. And this is a case with what one of our customers did. Why don't you read off what the pots represent, Kate?
Yeah, so this is White House Landscaping. So the first test plot, they were testing a couple things. The first test plot represents the results of a starter granular fertilizer, specifically It had an analysis of 10-16-6 with ATH seed and seed alive. The results are good. The second pot represents starter granular fertilizer 18-24-6 with green blade seeds. We saw a little seed germination there. The third pot, the White House team tested tall fescue seed with starter fertilizer 18-24-5. Again, we aren't really seeing results. In the fourth pot, though, oh, by the way, I should ask you guys this question first. Which test plot was treated with Holganix? Which one do you guys think it is? Give us an answer in either the question or the chat panel. All right, so you guys all said 4, and probably because you can either read the extremely small print or I gave it away way too early. So yes, number 4 is with Holganix. So White House Landscaping tests Holganix with ATH seed. The fifth pot, by the way, is our runner-up. They used a starter granular fertilizer of 10-16-6, same seed. In the last pot, they tested the same seed again, this time with 18-24-5.
So an easy way to do this yourself in terms of selecting a plant that will be responsive and show these kinds of results would be a corn seed, because it's easy to get corn seed, and you don't have to be as fussy about having conditions that it will germinate. So do that with corn seed, Holganix in one pot, and no Holganix in the other, and you'll see a similar result.
So our last big benefit that we wanted to talk about today was the fact that Holganix reduces transplant shock. So a lot of these guys are in the golf course world. I don't know if you mess around at all with your trees and shrubs. This picture is from Muirfield Village. So if you guys are watching the Memorial tournaments coming up, they are a Holganix user, and this is a picture from them. So how does Holganix reduce transplant shock?
Well, first of all, the way I would do it if I were myself planting summer annuals in my garden at my house, I would use Holganix as a transplant water, and put the plant in the hole that I've dug and pour some Holganix solution on and cover it up, as opposed to just using water by itself. If I were doing transplanting bald nursery stock,
should you dip it?
I would in that case I would spray the ball and put the solution in the hole when I put it in. And what this does is it really immediately nurtures the roots, which have been damaged and displaced in this whole process, and gives them a great opportunity to start out. And it's proven time in and time out that the stress of transplanting, like, so for instance, you don't water it as frequently as you should, and the transplanted plant, although other plants that are already out there growing, they're just doing fine. The transplanted plants aren't doing fine because the roots haven't gotten a good start. But if you've treated it with Holganix, you can prevent that kind of problem. So you literally you just create a really hospitable environment for the transplanted roots.
Awesome. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and open the webinar up to questions. Do you guys have any questions about what we talked about? I know we really went in depth on some of the science, or there are a bunch of other benefits we haven't covered. If there's anything that you're facing right now on the course, on the field, that's a problem you're facing, bring it up. Even if Holganix doesn't treat it, Dr. Bob's here and he may be able to have a solution for you.
I would just like to make one closing remark before we get questions, just in summary, and that is there are products out in the marketplace that you're being faced with that promise biology. And the really neat thing about our product is we really have biology. I mean, and we we're not delivering the silver bullet. We're delivering solutions for most problems that might occur. Not everything in our product is applicable to the problem, but there are pieces of our product that are applicable to the problem. So, I think when you're potentially looking at substitute products, you got to ask yourself, why am I using this product, and what specific problem will it resolve, and is it going to handle the problems I have? And you really can be confident that Holganix will.
Awesome. So, question from Mr. Brandon Haley. So, can you explain more why spraying the whole plant is better than just the soil?
Well, so I'll be a scientist here and use the technical terms. The plant above the ground is called the phytosphere. It's everything but the roots, and the roots below the ground and the soil associated with the roots is called the phytosphere.
I thought that was the above the ground.
No, I'm sorry. The
Rhizosphere.
rhizosphere is the soil. Thank you. And so we've talked a lot today about the rhizosphere, but the phytosphere benefits by spraying Holganix on it in two ways. One is it creates a physical barrier against disease. Actually, there's more than two ways. Another is the bacteria that are colonizing on these leaves produce growth regulant products. And I don't mean all the bacteria. Again, it's a very species-specific response, but some of the bacteria produce plant growth hormones that promote growth, delay senescence, affect the opening and shutting of stomata, and so you have a physiological effect on the plant. So basically, that's the answer. The second one is a lot of things, and the first one is a potential as a disease barrier.
Okay. This question's from Charlie. How important is it to apply after aerification to get into the soil? Timing does not always work to aerify and spray right after, which is true. Does spraying on top work just as well? This has got to be something that a lot of guys are facing.
Yeah, I mean, what you really are trying to do is, again, you want to get down there and put the Holganix on before those holes have filled in. But if you do that, and if you're overseeding in that environment, you're going to get this stimulating effect on the seed germination and seed starting. And the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to get Holganix, the bacteria and fungi in Holganix, directly associated with the roots of the plants that have been left in the turf, in standing turf, and invigorate those roots. So you want to do it as soon as possible after the aeration.
But it's okay,
Up to a week is fine.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? There's quite a lot of you on here. Bum, 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 bum.
Well, I've enjoyed the opportunity, to talk to you fellas, and I'm really, I was pleased with the questions you've asked. I hope the 20-some% of you who are not users of the product, give it a try. I think you'll be excited, and I hope that 20% of you who are evaluating it right now get good results. Either if you do or you don't, contact a Holganix rep or even myself, and let's talk through what it is you saw.
So just some concluding thoughts. When you sign off of the survey, or not the survey, I'm sorry, the webinar, a survey is going to pop up. Please take it. It'll allow us to continue to improve our webinar experience for you guys. And then tomorrow, look for a follow-up email. It's going to have a recorded version of this webinar so you can share it with friends, and resources and information mentioned during the webinar. So the compatibility list, for example, some of the case studies that we mentioned through the photos. And any additional questions? So Dr. Bob just told you guys to give him a call. My information is also up there. You're more than welcome to contact either one of us or your sales rep. And then we keep talking about the ingredients within Holganix. So what's in the jug? If you guys want to go ahead and copy and paste that into your URL, it'll give you the ability to download our ingredient list, or our key ingredient list, I should say. There's a lot more in the jug than just that paper. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Hope you get to be outside.
And I hope you get a chance to glance at some of the Indy 500.